So first of all, welcome back for Storytime with Wilds. I didn't get a chance to name this. Here's why I think I'm well positioned for AI. Gianna doesn't want me talking about AI, but it's like knowing that an asteroid is coming to the Earth and like, hey, we should really get stronger asteroid resistant umbrellas. And like, you're talking about it too much. I'm like, I don't know if I'm talking about it too much or not enough, but everyone's annoyed because I keep talking about AI because the AI algorithm keeps on sending me stuff. So here's how this affects the pod. And then I'm going to talk about a book. And then I'm going to talk about Carnival. The more I learned about AI, it made me think about sports media. And I said, you know what, KW, you might be well positioned because the weirder your takes are, the more slippery you would be for AI to catch you. You know what I mean? AI is going to be like, what's he doing talking about working at a carnival? It's just not, AI is just not. Gotcha, AI. Okay, first question, because I have appreciated the comments and I read the comments, but this is not a take. This is literally just a question I was trying to work into the pod and I didn't come up with an answer. So then I thought, just ask the audience to see if you think this is a relative take. And I think it's good life advice. And I read a full book and this was my number one takeaway from the book. So it's kind of a shortcut for you. Okay, so this was Graydon Carter's book. Graydon Carter was known as the editor of Vanity Fair, did a bunch of other stuff. So the whole book, he had this one little part. And I said, ooh, that's good, Graydon Carter. I wonder if that applies to sports teams because he was talking about how he builds out his teams in a magazine. He's the editor. He has to hire the other editors and the photographers and the writers, obviously. And he was talking about just building teams. So since he was talking about building teams, I said, maybe this has shown up in the sports world, but I couldn't quite figure it out. So I'm just going to put it out here. The acronym is Fisk, like Carlton Fisk. Funny, interesting, smart, and kind. And because the Thunder have been so successful, I've been trying to run the Fisk theory of building teams through currently successful teams. I was like, all right, the Thunder, they are funny. They put those towels on the reporters. They're an interesting team. They're a smart team and kind. The kindness part is like, I think it's less charity work. I think that's too hard to put your thumb on. So I think it would have to be a kindness within the workplace. So I'll give you an example. Closeout game against the Wolves. Caruso gets the steal, is on a breakaway, and SGA is just trailing him, just to be his friend. And Caruso stops and just gives him the ball. It's like, go ahead, SGA. You have these points. Even though you have plenty of points, and I could probably use the points because I don't really score a ton, but you get it. It was just very kind gesture. And then I watch like Pascal Siakam, he'll have like 30 points. Like, Pascal, you played great. He's like, I don't really care. And Josh Hart, it's like, it was my idea to go to the bench so Mitchell Robinson could play. It's a lot of kind gestures. Everybody's smart, obviously. Interesting is that might be more for editors, but maybe just, I don't know. And funny. Should you be funny? Maybe. I don't know. So that's why I put it out. Do you think FISK from Graydon Carter and how he builds teams applies to the sports world? If you do, leave it in the comments. It's like an interactive thing we've got going on here. It's like a choose your own adventure book. Okay, take of the day. I think we are at the end of flipping the switch. It used to be one of the favorite things in sports. Get to the playoffs and flip the switch. But the recent success of a handful of teams, they've just been good the entire time. Now, granted, does this have a little bit of an AI take? I was going to label this like the polymarketization of sports. You don't like polymarket either? Polymarket's predicting the future. It is. What do you want me to say? You can look on Polymarket like, I guess that thing is going to happen. I guess I should invest in Bitcoin. It just is what it is. Once AI starts to identify when people are blitzing, it can see stuff. Thunder have been great this whole year. They're the fourth team to win 80 games going into the playoffs. The 15-16 Warriors, the Jordan Bulls, another version of the Jordan Bulls, and the Thunder. They've just been good the entire time. There has been no flipping of the switch. There hasn't been any like huge surprise. No one has come and like surged and surprised them. They're just dominating people. And then the last major sporting event we had, Indy 500. Oh, Alex Palou has won 5 of the last 6 races. Kyle Kirkwood won 1. Like, he won. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. NCAA tournament, number 1 Auburn, number 1 Florida, number 1 Duke, number 1 Houston. Like, oh, we are just getting consistent excellence the entire time. And there was a lot of worries about the importance of the regular season. Like, does the regular season matter, or is everything just becoming playoffs? I think these teams are all proving that if you've earned the number 1 seed in the Final Four, you actually are the best. It's a little bit of that. It's a cousin of the did you ever hear that speech by the Navy general about making your bed? I think it's a commencement speech. It's a great speech. It's far better. Stop this podcast and go listen to Make Your Bed. It's an amazing. He talks about the value of just making your bed, on a commitment to excellence in doing the little things. In short, I don't know if he says this exactly, but you've heard this before. How you do anything is how you do everything. And that's what I think we are seeing in sports. So before I'll talk about football too a little bit, but now I will give you a story about working at a carnival. Me and my buddy, we grew up in Connecticut, and the carnival would come to town once a year. This sounds like I was born in the 1920s. The carnival would come to town. Oh, and the whole town would come out for the carnival. But it's true. That's what happened. It would roll into town on the train tracks, and we would all greet with little flags. Okay. Carnival's in town, and there's an ad in the newspaper. Again, the real printing press that was delivered to my home. There was an ad in the newspaper for help set up the carnival. So I called my buddy on the telephone. I'm like, hey, we should go work at the carnival for a day. This will be a story we'll remember for the rest of our lives, working at the carnival. And I think we had summer jobs at the time. So I think we had to, unless it was a weekend. No, it was during the week, because the carnival really pops during the weekend. I think we had to. This might be wrong. Whatever. You're not going to fact check it. Sorry, but I just want to be accurate. We must have called out of our real jobs to go work another job at the carnival. So in any event, we show up to the large flat area near the airport where they used to hold the carnival. And we get there, and we're like, this is going to be great. What a story we're going to have today. And the guy who's in charge of the people who responded to the ad, temp workers, basically, it was what we were. They're like, all right, we go off in little groups, and my buddy goes one way and I go the other way. The guy handed me a 8-foot, I guess it was a lightning rod. I think it was a lightning rod. Again, I'm asking John, I'm like, was it a lightning rod? So the guy gives me an 8-foot lightning rod, and he's like, this needs to go in the ground like this much. I'm like, great. And I've got a mallet, or like a hammer, not a sledgehammer, because I was holding it with one hand. So it's flat ground. It's like they must do this all over the country, but you don't need to get into like the topography of southeastern Connecticut. You can't just there's rocks there, okay? There's bedrock there, a lot of granite. So I'm pounding this thing. It's me and this other guy that I later become not friends with him. Like, we're working on the same thing. We're just hitting this long lightning rod into the ground. It's not going in. We're not in Texas. We're not in the Everglades. You can't just put a stake into the ground with your arm with a hammer. So I'm pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding. I'm like, this stinks. So I'm like, all right, now I've got a new plan. I'm going to, instead of going it straight down, I'm going to go in an angle. That doesn't make any sense either, but whatever. I'm working at the carnival for the morning, pounding it in. Finally, I get this much of the 8-foot pole into the ground so they can tie it off to a ride. So if the ride gets struck by lightning, this grounds it and everyone is okay, I think. So then my carnival day boss comes over, and I'm like, it's in. But there's like, it's 8 feet. I got 2 feet in. So he's got 6 feet tile. He's like, no, this much needs to be showing. You need to get 6 feet into the ground. I'm like, buddy, this is not going to work. So I tried my best for another hour and a half to pound this stupid lightning rod in. And it didn't really work. And it's like, all right, break for lunch. So I've got it in on like basically a 1 degree angle, just like covered with dirt. Thankfully, there was no lightning. And I think then I was like, I can't get this in. He's like, all right, I'll do it later. I don't know what happened. Me and my buddy meet up. We have lunch with everyone that's working at the carnival. Then I go up and I just we just make another ride that wasn't that exciting. It's just one that goes like this, like it's a boring ride. One of those, I don't even know what they call it. It was a boring ride. And then I'd been there the whole day. I think we got off at like 3:00, and he gave me $20 cash, which was not the going rate. And I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. My buddy got $40. He may have got $60. I'm like, why'd I get $20? He's like, because you didn't do your job very well. And that was it. And I know what you're thinking. Wilds, that was supposed to be an exciting story about working at the carnival. I know. That's what I thought. But it turns out carnivals are very efficient operations. There was no like crazy things happening. Everyone was doing their job. They went and had a little bit of lunch. They finished their job. Everything was up, and they're like, say goodbye to the temp workers. That has become sports in the last year. You're expecting all this chaos, and there has been a lot of chaos in the Eastern playoffs. But by and large, the Western Conference has been like me working at a carnival. I thought there was going to be chaos. There wasn't. That's the story of me working at a carnival. I know. You're thinking like, wasn't there something? No. Nope. Not at all. Some people with some drinking problems, probably. It's a nomadic job, but otherwise, it was a very efficient operation. It flies in the face of what you think, but it is what it is. Me and my buddy, we tried. Like, remember that crazy day we worked at the carnival? And I think he fell off a thing and hurt himself, but that was on him. That wasn't the carnival's fault. It really wasn't. Quickly on football, just for the record, just to drive home the point of just consistent excellence. Saquon went on another podcast. He's like, yeah, we're a top 5 team if you take out September. And he was like, first of all, are you allowed to do that? You can just like remove the months that you went 500, like kind of. But I think it works into this story. Here's the Eagles. After September, they went 16-1. They only lost week 16 against the Commanders when Jalen Hurts got hurt in the first quarter. Their point differential plus 238, and their turnover differential plus 29 is third best in the league. Then they went to the Super Bowl and crushed. They just basically ran through everybody. It was a little close with the Rams for a little while, but they dominated the whole time. And like the carnival, we were expecting all these highs and lows. There wasn't. They just efficiently rolled through the playoffs and won. Just like the NCAA tournament, all number 1 seeds rolled through and won. The Dodgers, I didn't even mention the Dodgers, Gianna. Get this. The Dodgers had a wire-to-wire World Series victory. Only 6 teams ever. The 27 Yankees, who are legendary, 55 Brooklyn Dodgers, 84 Tigers, which no one ever talks about 84 Tigers. The 1990 Cincinnati Reds, I didn't realize that. 2005 White Sox, and the 2024 Dodgers. They were 98 and 64. They were like, we're in first place the entire time. Opening day to the end. Thanks for the World Series. Everything is smooth. You think it's going to be chaotic, like me working at the carnival, but it's not. Stuff works, man. What do you want me to say? Yeah, it's AI proof. It's AI proof. It has to be. You got to be weirder because AI will come snatch your job.